What's going on, everybody? This is Antonio Thomas, creator of Freedman Street, and today I want you to sit back and relax and listen to this little bit of information that I got to share about freedom. Now, it's some misinformation, or there's not really clarity about freedmen, freedman, and freedmen. Now, in 1555, we know around that time, some of the first slaves was brought to the Americas before 1425 and 1555. And then going on from that, while they trickled in, and each part or individual started bringing in slaves to help build these new Americas, you start having more and more of the colonies come in and take over. Now, in 1619, slavery became a real institution. So that's when people was having a bulk of slaves doing the bulk of their work, while they did other things in their own communities, while they had slaves doing their menial duties up to hard labor. And not only did slaves do that, they also took place of individuals in their stead. So let's say if a person did something and they had to work something off, they're sending slaves to work it off. Or they had to pay some type of restitution, and didn't have it. Well, here's commodity. You take my slave, or you can have my slave for a certain amount of time and then send it back to you. So a lot of that was going on. So, people had the leeway to do certain things in this society and still be able to live the way they want, because they had other people paying the cost for them. Just much like today. And the comparison to that is that we as individuals, especially black people who work, because we're not the creators or owner of a specific industry, we are beholden to whoever the bosses are. And if the bosses do something wrong, they have to pay a price and everything, he sends that the repercussion comes down on to his slave or the individual that pays the cost. Just like you see the industry, you say, okay, well, the government raises taxes on the business, so the business is going to offshoot that taxes on its customers. You see, so there's always a class within the class. Let me read something for y'all very quick. 1776, we can give a quick history lesson. America gains its independence from the British, with the help from the French. And they would have lost that war if not for instituting or letting formerly enslaved people fight. Well, I'm not going to say formerly enslaved. People that were enslaved fight, because Washington was definitely against that. He didn't want no slaves inside the military fighting, because he felt freedom for himself and his people, but not those people that he had in his clutches or had in his possession, whatever you want to call it. The fighting was going on and morale was getting low. He had no choice but to let enslaved Africans fight. He sent out the word, and then 140 of the enslaved Africans decided to fight for them so they can gain their freedom. And so they did. And they did it so well that there was a front line of some infantry, and when the British was trying to break the lines over and over again, they couldn't. To the point where they just gave up, because the general of the other army didn't want to lose no more soldiers. So we went hard for our freedom, and some of them got it. And so when at the end, American Revolution, you had people begin to be freedmen, and not freedmen, freemen. And it's a difference. You got free man, freedmen, and free man. So free men is considered them as a group. Free man is the individual. It get kind of confusing, but at that time you had indentured servitude and you had slavery. And those people that was in slavery who gained their independence or paid for it, or no matter how way they did it, became freemen. Freemen, not freedmen. Freedmen is Freedman, and that's in the Constitution, noting that that is a protected class of people that preceded before the Freeman name. So those people that came through the institution of slavery became freedmen from the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. Now, that doesn't mean some people that was already free, who are really freedmen too, whole channel too, but they didn't have that free part took away from them. They gained it back. Now, I know that seems confusing, but it is a lot, because some of them people who bought their freedom, they went and tried to buy their own people and family back if they could find them. Some of them married people who was enslaved, so they had to work, get money, and try to buy their freedom from the person who they loved who was enslaved, because they still was moving and working and interacting with each other. Some was free, some wasn't, by any chance of this system letting them go through the individual, through a person dying or passing, or putting it in their will saying this person is freed after this time. Or you had certain circumstances where the individual paid for his own freedom. In 1783, he bought his own freedom. He worked 5 jobs. Gave this man $2,000. Now at that time, think about it, $2,000 when stuff was costing 12 cents, 15 cents, probably not even that much. He gave this man $2,000 for his freedom. And yes, that man took it, because that was a small fortune. So after he got his freedom, he became an abolitionist. And so after that, so who don't pull themselves up by their bootstraps? Not us. And this is the only one example that I found. There are many more. Many are put on the books. You probably find some in your family. Listen to those elders that's still alive for stories that been passed down to them that they haven't shared. We need to find this stuff out. Look at other things in history that compares to us. Got a lot of people talking about Pan-Africanism. People that's in a situation together just because they come from the same place doesn't give credit to this as a Pan-Africanist movement, because they work together for a common goal. Pan-Africanist means working for the unification of Africa, for the continent. These people was fighting for their freedom. There is no Pan-Africanism about it. And because they was working for their freedom, those that couldn't go back clicked up with other people that was around them, and they made their own society. Therefore, start making us a different group of people at that time. This is what the cost of slavery has done to America. And when we became American by the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, we was put up under this institution and this country as a protected class, which was ripped out because the Americans of that day didn't honor the war that they went through, and they was just as wicked as they was before the war began. So not only did they gain control of the government, they gained control of all them states that they lost, they gained control of the land and the wealth again, and they gained control over the people by stripping away all the advancements that Lincoln put in place after he got assassinated. Instead of the North leaving the federal army there to take care of those people until we can be on our own and work and all the institutions run right, they left and let they brothers who they just had a fight with take over the government, make all these restricting and slaverish laws. That's where you got the convict leasing and sharecropping, Jim Crow, and a lot of terrorist acts, sundown towns. All those laws was getting put in place and put on the books through former Confederalists. And then you have them taking over the narrative and our history. So you got the first people that was writing history that country was going by was the Daughters of the Confederacy. Now that name should tell you a lot. You got over in the South where people lost a war because they was treasonous, but in the South they still carrying the flag. Some of this is our history. Yeah, history of treasons. So if you uphold that flag and not the American flag, you're treasonous. You're a treasonous person. I can't see it no other way than looking at that. So I want y'all to look at this clip that I'm gonna do. It's about Mumbett, Mumbett. And during this time, she gained her freedom, with the help of abolitionists at that time. But thank y'all for listening, and I hope y'all enjoy. Peace.